We're the Hilsmaniacs, and today we're going to be doing a rewatch review of the movie Murder on the Orient Express. So basically, what a rewatch review is, we go back and watch a movie that we've seen a bunch of times before, and
at least once.
And give our thoughts, like, compared to when we first saw it to now, if we noticed anything different, and things like that, etc. If we liked it more than we did the first time.
Maybe the ending changed in the movie.
Yeah, it's different. Speaking of the ending, I do want to talk about the ending of this movie, because I think originally when I first saw this movie, like, I didn't quite maybe pay attention as much to, like, how... spoiler alert, first of all, for this movie, if you've never seen it. There's a guy is murdered on a train, and there's like 12 stab wounds.
No,
and there's
not a guy. Johnny Depp is murdered on a train.
The character Johnny Depp plays is murdered on the Orient Express, hence the title. And it turns out that everybody that was on the train, all 12 suspects that Hercule Poirot, the detective, is questioning and everything else, they all had a reason to want him dead, so they all conspired together, and actually they all stabbed him because it was this whole emotional thing, and it was all the same reason too. But when I first watched this originally, I don't think I paid quite enough attention to that detail where, like, they all had the same reason for wanting him dead. Like, I thought they all just had a kind of similar reason or a different reason. So I kind of liked that because I thought it was different compared to, like, if you see other, like, you know, murder mystery movies and TV shows and things like that, where it's always like one person or two that conspire together, you know. But this was like, the reason that they had this happen was because of something from the past that finally caught up with Johnny Depp's character, whose name I forget.
Ratchet. Something Ratchet.
Jack Sparrow.
That was his he disguised his name because he was actually a criminal.
But seeing it this time compared to the first time, I actually liked the ending more because I knew what was coming, and I actually paid attention to all the clues, you know, throughout the movie and everything as it got up to that point.
Right, that's the good part about rewatching movies, is that you notice stuff,
you catch things
that you might not have noticed the first time. Like, for me, one of the things I noticed was they were talking about, because I guess Johnny Depp's character was, you know, he murdered some little girl or something in the past, and that's why everybody wanted to kill him, because
it affected all
of their lives in some way. And they mentioned something about a maid or a babysitter or something being in the room when he came in and took killed the girl. And I don't remember that part being part of the movie the first time I saw it. I could have just been completely oblivious to it. Like, I knew she worked for the parents of the girl, but I just don't remember them showing her in the room when he came in. So that was something that I noticed, and I'm usually pretty good at noticing these small details and stuff.
Yeah, see, I
just didn't notice that.
I think it's different when you see it in the theater compared to, like, at home, because, like, in the theater you're just kind of distracted eating popcorn and whatever, but, like, at home it's like paying more attention.
Right.
And even knowing what's coming, it's still just like, you know, once you connect it all together and you're able to connect the dots yourself, it's fun to go back and pay attention to all these little details. And I even like that, even seeing it a second time, I realized how truly, like, actually really good this movie is. The plot makes sense and everything else. It's not some, like, convoluted thing with, like, why they killed him and stuff. Like, they all had a reason. And you see the struggle with Hercule, where he, like, at the end, after he figures it out, he has this sort of, like, moral issue where, like, should he turn them in or let them go, because their reason for killing him was kind of justified, I guess.
Right.
And he lets them go, you know. So it's like, just seeing all that and the acting and everything else the second time around, I actually, like, appreciated it more.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, you know, it's one of those things that you don't catch everything right away, and just to show how good some of these actors and actresses in this movie were. You know, and the funny part is they end up actually acting in the movie too, because they have to act like they didn't kill the person, and then they have to blame everybody else. Yeah. And a lot of them play, like, other nationalities and stuff. Like, some of them play British, but they're not British. You know, so they all have these different accents and stuff, which is hard to do. But a lot of them do it fairly well for, I mean, for this movie, but that's what you have to do as as an actor. And I give credit to everybody that was part of this,
right.
because that was pretty impressive. And for Kenneth Branagh to be able to both direct and star in this movie, that's a double duty right there.
He played Hercule Poirot.
You have to be doing double
Yep.
stuff on this movie.
I just think it's like, like I said, I paid more attention, so
Yes.
I kind of I enjoyed this movie a lot more the second time, and I feel like it is worth rewatching again and again and again. Even when you know what happens, even when you found all the clues yourself, it's still just a nice, it almost feels like a classic movie, but it came out in what, 2015 or something? Yeah,
maybe later.
In recent years, in the past decade
there was an older
think.
version of it, but still not with.
But I mean, it's based
people.
on the Agatha Christie novel and everything too. But it's I've never read the book, but just seeing the movie and then seeing it again, it's I definitely feel like it's worth checking out multiple times.
Yeah.
Just a fun movie to sit back and enjoy. And if you're a fan of mysteries and everything, and the way they did it, it kind of reminds me of what Knives Out did as well, where it took a classic trope from these kind of movies and turned it on its head and did something you wouldn't expect. We were expecting to find out that maybe there's one or two killers, but not all 12 suspects or all of the suspects, even the train conductor and everybody were in on the whole thing, except for Poirot.
I've watched this movie I think 4 times now, and every time it's still rewatchable for me. Even though I know what happens, I don't really care. Just watching the acting and this all-star cast that you have in this movie.
Right.
And just knowing that it is a murder mystery, even though I know what happens, and just finding these little details that we might not have noticed the first time, or trying to still figure out other ways that this could have played out should it not have worked the way they had intended. I don't think there was an avalanche that happened that ended up knocking the train off the track so they couldn't move, and Hercule Poirot was on the train, which I don't think either one of those were obviously part of their plan.
Expect that
so they had to adjust their plan a lot, and so just thinking of other ways, oh, maybe this person could have done this differently, or just trying to figure out for yourself. And the best part of it was when you watch it for the first time and you're trying to figure out who the killer is, and you get, and that's why I like mystery stuff, games, movies, whatever. You're always trying, there's always that aspect of I want to know who it is, but I have to be the one to figure it out, and it's just really fun to be able to figure it out. And I really like the setup at the end of the movie too, where they set up the next movie, which is coming out next week. It's called Death on the Nile, and we'll be doing a review of that movie next week when it comes out. Yeah, and that's basically why we wanted to do this rewatch review now, because the movie is coming out. Yes. And I know you didn't notice it at
I didn't catch this at first.
And I don't remember the Egypt part. I know they were asking him to go to another case, but I don't remember them mentioning Egypt before. Yeah, because right as he gets off the train, this detective or some cop or something comes up to him and asks, "Are you Hercule Poirot? I got a case for you. I need to take you to Egypt or whatever." And so that sets up for the next movie. I didn't catch that. It was going to connect. I knew he had asked him to go investigate a new murder. But I didn't catch Egypt the first couple times I watched it. I might have just been done at that point because the movie was, it was over, so I wasn't. I just love it how they don't give him a break. He just got off the train. Well, no, that's the life of a detective. He just solved a murder on a train that he wasn't even originally. He wasn't even going to be on the train originally. I guess his ride got canceled or whatever, and he had to be on the train. Something happened that pretty conveniently placed him on this train. But what I liked the most about this movie, both times I saw it, really was it's one of those sort of closed, boxed in sort of mysteries where it's there's a room, a guy is in the room, and then he gets murdered, but there's no possible way somebody could have gotten in there because everybody else in the area could see him. The victim was killed in his sleeping quarters on the train. And everybody else next to him was giving all these different stories. I saw somebody walking down the hallway, but here they were all collaborating. But
that's where it kind of throws you off. You know, it's like, whose story do you
Right.
believe? And I think they pulled this off perfectly. Like, not just when I first saw this, but even seeing it again, it's just like, oh, that's a clever detail. I didn't catch that he said that the first time
Yeah.
or whatever, where you can tell he's lying.
Well,
you know?
and there was even kind of a setup that I mentioned earlier, you know, where two of the characters end up having a conversation before they get on the train.
Right.
And they're talking about finishing something, you know, and they said we won't rest till it's over. But we don't know what's going to happen yet, obviously.
And you don't know what they're talking about.
And then in the end, when they reveal that all of them were in on it, you're like, oh, well, hey, they were setting it up from the, you know. And Hercule Poirot heard them talking, but he didn't know what they were talking about either. So it was like, but even like you said, setting it up, you know, all these different ways that the things could have happened and stuff. Like, they mentioned the window being open, which changed his body temperature. Well, that also could have been the windows open because the guy escaped out of the train.
And that's maybe what they wanted people to think.
And that could be why they threw that line in there. Like, I know the doctor had to be able to change his body temperature, you know, so they opened the window, but also it's like, you know, that could be a line to throw you off so that you're like, oh, well, the guy, that's how he got in or out. You know, he came in through the window and killed the guy. But obviously it was all set up anyways.
So like every little detail of this movie was just executed perfectly.
Yeah, and it was very creative for the way they did this, and the cast, everybody worked great together. It was just it was a great movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing the new one when it comes out.
Me too, as well.
Week.
But there you go, guys. That was our rewatch review of Murder on the Orient Express. Let us know what you thought of this movie if you've seen it down in the comments section. If you haven't seen it, we recommend you go and watch that movie because it's a really good, fun murder mystery movie. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Like we said, next week we're going to be doing a review of Death on the Nile, the sequel to Murder on the Orient Express.
Kind of.
Well, yeah. So check that out, and thank you for watching this video, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Subscribe.